Whoa, hey there, Lore. What's up? So my story's going to be a little different from what you've heard. I haven't ever been shot. I haven't nearly lost my life bringing life into this world, nor have I ever been nearly pummeled to death for doing the right thing. No, my survival story is how I survive my 9-to-5 day job. Now see, no, I'm not a first responder, nor a ER doctor. No, I'm not even a mental health professional. I'm a volunteer manager. I know. That being said, though, on Memorial Day of this year, things changed because no less than 14 tornadoes hit down in our community. And in doing so, it sent me to the front seat of watching our community rebuild and come together. See, a typical day, I would wake up and I would go into work and we would just handle volunteers as they come in, have a particular schedule and process to follow through. But this was no typical day. See, I awoke to a text message from our CEO. That's right, folks, I slept through the whole damn thing. I woke up to this text message from our CEO that simply said, "Things are bad, come in early." Yeah. So I walked in and strolled into this everyday location to see that something was off. Something was different. See, there was already buzz about and people were moving and grooving. Our staff were already in action mode, reacting and acting, making plans on the fly, all right in that moment. I walked into strangers' faces that I've never seen before. Typically not an issue, but at 7:30 in the morning, I'm wondering, what are you doing here? Well, it turns out, by a surprise to even myself, they were here for me. That's right. See, part of the plan, our staff had been up hours before I even got there, preparing, planning, and working towards what rebuilding would look like in our community. And what I didn't know is that I was a key role in that plan, and I wish I would have known. What ended up happening is the Foodbank said that from 7:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., all volunteers, all those interested, all those affected that wanted to give back, show up. Sean will take care of you. I know. I'm Sean. So what ends up happening is a mass of volunteers come. Now let's fast forward a little bit to later in that day where I'll set the scene for you. See, we have a drive-through, and going through this drive-through are cars lined out, down along our building, coming back behind our building, out to the street. It's going down Washington. It's going all the way down Germantown, up by 35. And what's happening is there are over 30 volunteers taking donations from this vehicle to load up those in need at the vehicle right behind them. See, this line that was so long, the first couple of days were people dropping off donations. But as our community got out of the shock and got into that mode, they realized that the next few days were people needing those donations. And it was a magical scene to see the energy and the exuberance that these volunteers had. They were so engaged, but yet so physically involved. I don't know how they made it. See, the people that showed up at 7:30 in the morning didn't leave until 4:30 in the evening. Just because that was the suggested time didn't mean you had to use all of it, right? just not more than I'd say 50 feet from there was the next scene to be saw. See, what had happened is we have about 6 or 7 bay doors that were open. And these bay doors are where we probably had, I'd say, 50 or so volunteers. I couldn't count. There were so many. This is where cars would back in, large trucks with massive donations, skids of water, canned goods, Pop-Tops. On top of this is where cars would back in, and we would load up volunteers' vehicles so that they could drive out to locations in need and deliver the supplies that our community were going to rely on. Now, through all of this, not more than another 100 feet off to the side were about 60 or so volunteers, and they're sorting through about 120,000 pounds of food donations that had just come in from a national campaign not more than a week and a half prior. See, those food donations became the crux of what was necessary, because within this mass of outdated or black beans from grandma's cupboard, within this mass of just food, were Pop-Top canned goods, were easy-to-cook items, were things that didn't require gas or power, the things that so many people were now left without. And so these volunteers are sorting left and right, ready to make the kits required for our community to bounce back. And last but not least, in our office area were 2 locations where, again, 60 or so volunteers sat, waiting. They were making love notes, notes of encouragement that typically we would put in a kid's backpack for a weekend meal. But now we were going to send those out to those affected in our community. And within this effort, they're just waiting for me to walk in and simply say, I need 6 people, 6 volunteers who are willing to drive to some location I'm about to tell you, but none of us know where, and deliver the goods. Now, the important part is I said 6 because we really needed about 12 or so folks to raise their hand, and I knew by saying 6, that would give me enough because everyone wanted to raise their hand. I was mostly encouraged by a couple of individuals that stood out because they represented what I saw constantly. I was encouraged. A friend of mine, Evelyn, reached out and she said, hey, our company doesn't have power. We don't have water, and we want to help. We're a part of this community, and we don't want to just sit around at home waiting for something to happen. We want to take an active role. And so their entire office hopped in a vehicle and came down to give back. Again, she was just one example of multiple of those stories that I heard. I also had a professional friend of mine, a gal who taught me everything I know about volunteer management. She reached out to me and she said, hey, I have a particular set of skills. Do you need them? In my mind, I read that in her best Liam Neeson voice, right? So of course, and she roped up a babysitter, came on down and whipped volunteers into shape with her particular set of skills. See, folks, she paid for a babysitter to come down and help. An office came in to help. People that have lost everything wanted to help, and I was right there to see it, to feel it. Now, see, ladies and gentlemen, all good stories, I'm told from our wonderful lore friends, involve a change, right? A change of having one perspective and now having another. See, I didn't have a change in this moment because I've always loved this city. I've always had passion for our community and the people that show up. It's what I drive for. And I wasn't feeling that change. No, I felt renewed. My spirit, that energy, heightened to levels I didn't even think accessible. I ran myself ragged just as all of our other staff did for the week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after, even still today, because so many people showed up to give back. And now this was supposed to be a love story, and typically this is where my story would have ended. However, about 2 weeks ago, some things changed. Some feelings changed. Some thoughts changed. See, the hardest part is I don't know what to say. And I always know what to say. I don't know what my feelings are, but I always know what my feelings are. See, there's a sense of helplessness, and I have to be very honest with all of you tonight. I didn't know what I was going to say at this point until I got here in front of all of you. Because for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been racking my mind about what do I believe? What do I think is right? I've had this internal struggle. Do I feel safe? Do I truly know what this community is? I see the same responses in the tornado relief of people hugging each other, people caring about each other, but I also see the divisiveness. I also wonder to myself, will this change what we built? Will this change what we've come and grown from? Something so massive as a tornado that can bring us together, and yet another massacre that can both bring us together or it can break us apart. I don't know. I'm not sure you know. I don't think anyone knows. But here's what I know. I'm not okay. I'm angry. I'm sad. I don't know my thoughts. I've talked to professionals. I would encourage others to do the same. And I sit here and I think what I do know is during that time of the tornado, I saw love. I felt love. See, I've always believed that the true measure of a life isn't about loving someone else, but feeling loved yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight I stand in front of you not knowing my feelings, not knowing my emotions, but I can say this. In the past week and a half, I've had friends reach out, strangers reach out. I've had massive conversations. And what I know is I feel loved. And tonight, with all of you, I feel loved. And I hope that you understand that I also love you. And I don't know if that's enough, but for now, it has to be. Thank you.